Florida. Spoon-fed to the American public as the great vacation getaway post-World War II, then it locked its status of vacation destination with the building of Walt Disney World in the 70s. Is this still what Florida is after all this time? An Art Deco extravagance of a vacation full of ocean, music, and pool parties? Or has the state slipped into a void of weird that we see in the news? Or is there something altogether different out there? Something that's always been there, but the greater American public has not paid attention to because of the glitz and glam of the Atlantic coast resorts and the want to experience the wealthy side of things? Work trips usually have the same travel itinerary. Wake up around 4 a.m., catch the 6 a.m. flight to Chicago O'Hare, run across the O'Hare terminals to jump in line for my next flight, which is already boarding. These days, I travel to Florida more than I ever have in the past due to my work. This has opened the opportunity to see the state a bit differently since I go to the Gulf Coast side of Florida, which I have had no prior experience with beforehand. Not that I always get out after a long day of work, but this time, I have a reason to get out a little bit more. The Gulf Coast of Florida is always interesting to me for how it looks from the air. To see where people have built large hotels and homes, sometimes in places seemingly doomed to be washed away in the future. On my first travel for work to Florida, I saw numerous homes that appeared abandoned and partially washed away on all these small islands in 2015. Once the flights are done, it's time to hit the ground running. Grab my rental car, grab a lunch, and start working. But first, let's check into our home base for this trip. The Days Inn and Suites! We will start every trip from Fort Myers. It's not a bad launching point for the lower portion of Florida. It's around 3 hours to Orlando, 2 to Tampa or Miami, 3 to the start of the Keys, 5 to the end of the Keys. I am not looking to bust out too far on this trip because I want basics. I want nature. So I'm starting with the Delnor-Wiggins Pass State Park. I picked it because it listed snorkeling as something to do. The parking lot is separated from the beach by a strip of trees. There's close to 5 miles of these boardwalks through the area, and on these walkways you can see the leaping lizards and the tiny crabs walking around. And you can stop to have a picnic in their designated areas. But be aware, there are alligators around, and as this sign says, alligators have been known to attack humans. Alligators are dangerous. Do not swim with the alligators. Do not approach, frighten, or feed. The beach is filled with a ton of wildlife as well. There were eagles and osprey, and I hear there's even owls there. You see these long-legged fellas? They aren't afraid to give you the business as well. I was dive-bombed by one that then strutted around me afterwards. So instead of fighting a bird, I took to the water. I also had a chat with a gentleman who was swimming by on his evening constitutional, and was informed that this is the place to be for a great sunset, which was fast approaching. And if you've watched our videos before, you know we love a good sunset. So I walked to find a nice quiet part of the beach to sit back, relax as the sun went down. probably can tell which shot I kind of messed up. Well, it was a great sunset nonetheless.
Excuse me, sir.
The last few times I've come to this area for work, I was drawn to one of the places on my map, the Bonita Beach Dog Park. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to a dog beach? And this time, I was making sure to go. It wasn't as lively as I had imagined, but it also was a weekday around dinner time. Either way, a pupper greeted me as I approached the beach and was treated as some doggos having a good time with their humans in the water. Now, the humans were a little wary of a guy without a dog on the beach taking pictures and a video, so I didn't stay too long. And I moved over to Lover's Key State Park. Did I mention I love big parks? Like these kind of state parks? Yeah, probably not yet, but I do. The bridge that gets you to the main beach gives you a great view of the wildlife if you're patient and quiet. I was avoiding thunderstorms in the area, hoping they wouldn't come my way as I was heading to the second beach on my trip. The second beach, I might add, which was posting dangerous marine life and medium hazard flags. But hey, a whole family was enjoying themselves on the beach, and they weren't eating. I guess my odds were pretty good in surviving a swim myself. I couldn't help but notice all the shells. Make sure to wear water footwear if you plan to come to this beach. Otherwise, it's really hard on your bare feet. Again, those little leaping lizards were everywhere, and this one in particular wasn't shy about having my camera phone in its face.
So after yesterday's screw up with Lumberjack Hooters,
got back really late the night before, went to the only place open, Twin Peaks. Had no idea what it was until I walked in. Food was fine, my waitress was nice.
now I'm starting to second guess my choice for today. No, it's not Chuck E. Cheese, but it's right next to Chuck E. Cheese.
It was a good choice, a lot of options, and it was tasty. Then came the crowning jewel of the trip. I drove down to the Big Cypress National Preserve to drive the Loop Road Scenic Drive. I originally was going to do Alligator Alley, but I read that if you're not in a high-sitting vehicle, you won't see any alligators. Southern Florida was having a huge swath of storms that day, which was a lot of fun to watch as I drove, except when it downpoured and I could barely see. On the way, I saw a large alligator partially laying on the road and many signs for panther crossings.
Panther, eh?
But sadly, no panther sightings.
Well, I traveled about an hour and 45 minutes for this, so I'm gonna give this storm a chance to pass by. looks like it could in the next 10 to 20 minutes.
The loop road is out of the way to begin with, but then it takes you further out of the way on a bumpy gravel road deep into the northern edge of the Everglades. Before getting too involved in the process, there's a bathroom and a trailhead if you're looking to take a hike instead of a drive. My advice, bring bug spray.
Last chance, eh? I'm in it for the long haul.
That sign is no joke, by the way. It's basically a single-lane road that goes for a total of 24 miles. And since it's a bumpy gravel road, you will travel around 15 miles per hour, plus stops to view and listen to the wildlife. When you can see the sign for Sweetwater Strand, this is where a lot of the bridges start, and where you can get some good views of the alligators. Also a ton of birds. This guy, I swear, had a wingspan almost as wide as the road. It's just too bad my iPhone 8 doesn't have great low light capability.
Thought it was close to the end there. Oh.
In the end, I probably had 100 mosquito bites and was carrying the Zika virus.
Dun-dun. 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 Boop, 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 boop. Dun-dun. Dun-dun. Dun-dun.
And that was the adventure side of my work travel to Southwest Florida. Storms ended up delaying my flight for hours and complicated my travel home, necessitating me to switch airlines, switch routes, and even my final destination. Luckily, the airline was able to get me to Atlanta on time to get a connecting flight to Green Bay, close enough to home and arriving the same day, unlike any other destination in the state of Wisconsin. Plus, flying out of Atlanta at night gives a good view of the lights of downtown. In reflection, is Florida just the crazy Florida man headline? A theme park extravaganza? Or post-World War II playground? Absolutely not. It's also a rare treat of nature that is not found anywhere else in the continental United States of America. It's just not echoed through our television by a giant mouse into our children's ears. And we have to take care to protect our jewels of nature so that condo developments, hotel developments, and theme parks don't move in and pave over these rare ecosystems. Thanks for watching the video. It's our first episode with the new logo and pushing ourselves little by little away from the vlog content style into something new. Hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like, subscribe, click a bell, leave a comment. We have new stuff coming on the horizon.